10,000 meters, 25 laps of the track. Straight away, getting clear of Clavel is Guskova of the Soviet Union. Kuna of Portugal, one up there. Soviet girls like to get themselves arranged in the front areas.
Well, they've all watched Ingrid Kristiansen run that marvellous world record in Oslo, where she ran almost a minute faster than anybody else has ever run. So they automatically think she's going to go straight into the lead. What she decided to do was to leave it alone for a couple of laps, just to unnerve them a little, say, you know, what's happening, where's Ingrid, why isn't she leading yet? Which I think is a good idea. Even just this far, but she can hardly hold herself back. But she said she was going to let it go. Cunha knew that she would have to follow her. And the other girls are saying, you know, where's the world record place from Ingrid Kristiansen? Because that's what we expected to happen. So I thought that was a good idea on behalf of Ingrid and her coach to decide just to let it go, because you don't have to lead on the first lap of the 10,000 meters. If you want to push them, if you want to make it hard, there's plenty laps to do that.
8:32, Guskova, 5:01, Kristiansen, 6:10, Cunha, 8:55, Shupiyeva, who was sixth in the 3,000 meters here. First lap, 78 seconds. To get anywhere near Kristiansen's world record, don't forget she's a minute faster than anybody else in the field. They've got to run inside 73s. Well, you can see what's happened in the 10,000 meters. It was predictable. Kristiansen, after that slow first lap, decided the second lap was the time to go, and she's really stretched them right out. Guskova second, Cunha third, Bondarenko four. Liz Lynch back in ninth place, and Angela Tooby just behind her, about 10th or 11th. Kristiansen, the world record holder, has really set out her stall. The first lap was 78 seconds, very slow. Then Kristiansen took charge and went 72, 70, 71, and no one can live with her. Cunha of Portugal chasing there, the three Russian girls there, and Ulrika Bruns of East Germany. Then a gap to Liz Lynch, who's leading the long line of runners, quite some distance behind. Kristiansen is going to lap some of these several times.
Well, what a way to run too, leading after one lap and stretching them out like this. I'd be surprised if we see a repeat of what we saw Steve Jones do, because Ingrid will know the lap times spot on. She'll be knowing what pace she wants to run, and she'll know exactly how she's progressing. Liz Lynch back in about 8th place, leading the third group. There she is with Angela Tooby. Liz has had a very tough season. That 10,000 meters in the Commonwealth Games was a great run, but then to come here to run the heats in the final of the 3,000 meters, now to come out for the final of the 10,000 meters makes it a doubly difficult task. And maybe she should have left it alone after the 3,000, because her last memory of 10,000 meters in Edinburgh was a great one. Her memory of this one won't be quite as good, and hopefully it's not too bad, because you really can do damage to your confidence by having a really tough 10,000 meters.
Yes, it can affect your nerve a little bit, psychological attitude. Kristiansen, by the way, has just run the last 4 laps in 4 minutes 44 seconds. And she's speeded up after that first lap to world record pace. Cunha, Guskova, Bondarenko, Shupiyeva, Bruns are the 5 followers. And Lynch usually and back that red bar. I think the best hope for the British girls would have been if the 3 Soviet athletes, the East German and Cunha of Portugal, had gone chasing Kristiansen early on and paid for it. But Liz is doing this economically and doing it the right way.
She is, but she's a little bit in no man's land there, because it would have been nice if that group had been spread out a little further so she could pick them off one after the other. But she's got to close that gap that we can see there on the top bend before she feels the comfort of having someone to run in front of her.
But not close it too quickly, because that's the bit that hurts. And that's the bit you pay for at some later stage in the race. It's got to be done gradually. Kristiansen is a long, long way in front. Just run a 72-second lap. So since she took the lead after the first lap, 72, 70, 71, 71, 72, 72.
Well, I told you about her pace-making ability, but it's even more accurate than you could do with a stopwatch. She spends a lot of the time preparing for this race. She decided that this was the one she wanted to go for. She didn't want to run the 3,000 meters because she felt that her run against Puica and Zurich wasn't as good a run as it looked, and she was right, because Puica wasn't strong enough to win the 3,000 meters. That was won by the Russian girl there, in second place in that group, Bondarenko. So Ingrid knew exactly what she was doing. She watched the 3,000 meters. She wasn't sure whether she would have won it, but she wasn't even thinking about winning that one. She was thinking about winning this one. And she spends the days before the race going through the mental rehearsal of putting herself in this position of the 72-second laps, exactly how she'll be feeling at varying stages of the race. It's a mental drill, it's a mental rehearsal, and it's a one psychological effect that I think that would be interesting for some of our British distance runners, men and women, to talk to the Norwegians about and learn from them, because both Ingrid and Greta have benefited from that mental rehearsal skill, and it's certainly something which pays dividends in the longer distance races.
She's doing some damage to these chasers. She's 17 seconds in front of them. But coming into the picture now, Liz Lynch, and she's closing this gap steadily. Perhaps a little too quickly, but she's certainly getting in touch with what is a world-class bunch chasing the second place. Kristiansen now some 18 seconds in front. Les Lynch and Angela Tooby closing up on these. Kuhnhaar, Bondarenko, Shipieva, Guskova and Ulrika Bruns. And the British pack closing that gap by, well, under a second a lap, but that's the right way to do it. Kristiansen already beginning to lap athletes. And they're going to have a real lap counting problem in this race for the people at the back, because they're going to be lapped several times. The lap marker showing 15 laps to go for Ingrid Kristiansen. About 4¼ miles. She's slowing a little bit now. She's gone 73, 73, 74 after a series of 72s and 71s. Kuhnhaar, Bondarenko in third place. Shipieva wide on the outside, Guskova 8.32 on the inside, and the tall figure of Ulrika Bruns from East Germany in the headband. So there's second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth. Liz Lynch 7th, Angela Tooby 8th. And the two Britons are now within about 12 meters of the girls who are battling it out for second place. It's a fine piece of running by Liz Lynch, ready to get back in there and to take Angela Tooby with her.
Well, I'm full of admiration for Liz Lynch because of her effort here, because I remember a few years ago when I tried to run the 10,000 meters in the Commonwealth Games and then the 10,000 meters in the European Championships, and I found that a very, very difficult double to do. But Liz has had that 10,000 meters and she's had the 3,000 meters, so maybe her cautious start, which I was thinking was tiredness caused by those heats that she's already run, maybe they were calculated, because she's coming back beautifully there onto the back of the group. I just hope she takes a little rest there, because it's the early stages yet. They're just coming up to halfway. They're not even halfway yet, so she's got plenty of time, if she's feeling strong, to pick her way through the field, or through the second part of the field. But there's nobody going to challenge Ingrid.
It was quite impressive the way Liz Lynch got back in the race herself and has brought Angela Tooby with her, who's also running well. And it was noticeable, actually, on the close-up of Liz Lynch. She looked very relaxed. But, of course, it's got to be remembered, you're putting in work all the time when you're closing gaps like that. She can afford to take a breather, but this is the point where, having got there, the other athletes just speed up a fraction. You can get into trouble. Ingrid Kristiansen, 11 laps to go. She went through 5,000 metres in 15 minutes, 7.76 seconds. And she really is very, very close to world record pace. In fact, if she speeded up a couple of seconds in the second half of the race, she's broken her own world record. Bondarenko there leading the chase now. Kuhn Haar is in third place. And what I feared might happen has happened with the British girls. They worked to get back in the race, but these world-class athletes in second, third, fourth, and fifth and sixth positions, they've speeded up slightly at just the wrong time for the British pair, who didn't get the chance of a free ride for a lap or two.
I think the chasing group there began to accelerate once they got beyond halfway, and I think Liz had just caught them at that point and run very sensibly to get to them at that point, but is probably beginning to pay the price for her exertions. Ingrid Kristiansen doesn't look as though she's paying the price for her exertions. She looks really strong. She's almost 200 meters ahead of the rest of the field, and the Russians are splitting the field up, and Kuhn Haar, the Portuguese girl, is coming round into third place there, and the race is on for the minor medals.
Yes, there's a very confusing situation developed down there as well, because Kristiansen just went past the lot marker with 11 to go. And just having a look at this, I think she's only got 10 laps left, and it has been switched down to 10, I think. Oh, yes, it has now, for this chasing group. But poor Ingrid on this lap is going to be very confused.
That's one of the problems of being as good as she is. She's lapping so many runners that I don't think I've ever seen in a major championship anybody lapping runners like this before. It has to be said that this is the first time the women have run the European Championship at 10,000 meters, but she's creating all kinds of problems for herself because she's having to go around the group. It would be nice if some officials would be on the side of the track to warn some of the girls just to step out, because I'm sure they're only doing it to I'm sure they're only staying on the inside because they don't know she's coming up, because they can't hear her. She's coming up with 9 laps to go, and she's still around 200 meters clear of the field.
Well, that familiar wave is truly international now. But the point Brendan was making about athletes moving out is a very valid one. It's not they're being impolite or difficult, they just can't hear at all on these modern synthetic tracks. And there's an example of it for the chasing pack. Great scenes around the stadium. Meanwhile, Kristiansen in a world of her own. She's got marvellous concentration, and she did say after a world record run she is able to shut out everything. Whether in fact she's going to be able to shut out the unusual noise here and actions around the stadium, I doubt.
They seem to be going in sympathy with her there. Look, she's almost running as fast as that wave is moving around the stadium. Maybe that's going to give her something to chase. Coming back to the point you made, though, David, she will be concentrating solely on the race. She must be aware of the noise. She probably hasn't noticed that people are leaping up and down. She might notice it on the last lap.
Actually, the wave is getting ahead of her, Brendan. There's about 50 metres in front now. I thought they were trying to synchronise it. but it's a marvellous piece of audience participation.
Well, her lap times of 73 and 74 seconds have been beaten. The wave went around there in about 65, I think.
Ingrid Kristiansen, I think, has just realised, you may have seen her look across what's going on. I think she thought something else was happening in the stadium. Meanwhile, the battle for silver down to 3. Bondarenko, who got the gold in the 3,000 metres. Guskova and Kuhnhaar is having problems staying with them. Ingrid Kristiansen passing the lap marker with 6 to go. 23:04. I'm just trying to do some mental arithmetic. She's very slightly outside her world record pace, but it's only a fraction. It's Bondarenko, the former world record holder, in 2nd place, being chased by her international teammate Guskova of the Soviet Union. And Kristiansen receiving tremendous encouragement. The wave ripples round the stadium still. What a different atmosphere she's got here to her winter experiences when she trains in the kitchen on a treadmill because of the poor weather conditions around Norway. Incidentally, Liz Lynch, we think, and athletes now are all over the place on the track, being lapped and relapped. We think Liz Lynch is back in about 7th place and Angela Tooby 9th. Looking at this, she's on world record schedule, but I'd suggest actually she's running faster than she was in Oslo, because she's got so many more runners to contend with and to pass and weave in and out of. It's Bondarenko in 2nd place behind Kristiansen. Angela Tooby just been lapped. And Liz Lynch in about 7th place still.
I just hope the Norwegians saw a lot of the World Cup soccer or have recognised what the wave is about. I think it started in American football stadia, was adopted by South America, but for all Ingrid Kristiansen's concentration, this might be shaking her concentration just at the moment. I'm sure she understands that it's an appreciative gesture, but it really has captured this crowd's imagination, I think mainly because the temperature's dropped and they're getting very cold.
They're spending a lot of energy jumping up and down, and Ingrid is pouring out her energy now on the track. I'm sure she appreciates that it's an extra noise and an extra bonus to give her some help on her way. She's got 3 laps to go, and it really is hard now for Ingrid because she's running faster than anyone apart from herself has ever run before. That world record is kind of dangling out there if she really pushes the last 3 laps, but the incentive in her mind, she's going to win the gold medal. Should she go for the world record, or should she just stay for the gold medal? And I think that's a very, very difficult one, because you get caught in 2 minds.
Liz Lynch in about 7th place, about to be lapped. There's Bondarenko, who's moved clearly now into the silver medal position, with Guskova of the Soviet Union in 3rd place. She's passing the 3 laps to go marker. So the Commonwealth champion just being lapped, but that's no disgrace when you're looking at the world record holder. And Liz Lynch has clearly got the ability to improve an awful lot yet. Kristiansen now just over 800 metres from home. 23 laps completed. Kristiansen just past the triple jump pit there. A lap and a half left. You can always find some inspiration when you get closer to home. 17:21 for the Soviet athlete in the triple jump. Doesn't change the position. And so, the world record holder nears the bell. .400 meters to go. And she needs to run the last lap in about 61 seconds to break her own world record. And I don't think that's on, even for this astounding athlete, who is so much better than anybody else in the world. This will undoubtedly be the second fastest time ever. .200 meters left. And as expected, Ingrid Kristiansen is about to become the first ever women's European 10,000 meters champion. Speeding up all the time, outside the world record, but that doesn't matter. She's won European gold. The last lap was run in 70 seconds. And I think she might well have broken her own world record in a smaller field. Ingrid Kristiansen, 30, 2.5-year-old daughter, winner of the London Marathon in 1984 and 1985. Johanna coach, who also coached Greta Weitz, other famous Norwegian distance runner. And as we thought, the occasion has produced the true champion. It has also produced a fine series of performances right through the field.